Hey, how's it going, people? Today I'm going to be talking about some unsolved disappearances that to this day nobody knows what happened to the people that I'm going to show you in this video. Also, keep in mind that I am going to be talking about death and some frightening stuff, so if you're not really into that kind of video, click off. If you are, then continue watching. Brandon Swanson was a 19-year-old student and was attending his first year in Minnesota West Community and Technical College. Well, on May 13th, 2008, he and his friends celebrated at one of his friends' house for his first year in college, where they also had a send-off party for one of their classmates. And according to eyewitnesses that were there was alcohol, and Brandon was seen to be taking at least one shot of whiskey. However, his friends, when he left, said that he did not look intoxicated. He left the party completely fine. Well, when he left the party, it was around midnight, so on May 14th, Swanson reportedly intended to drive from Candy, where the party was held, to reach his parents' home in Marcia. The distance was only supposed to last from 30 to 40 minutes, but Swanson's car got stuck in a ditch, and he eventually tried calling some of his friends, but nobody really answered at that time. And around 1:50, that's when Swanson called his parents to inform them that he had been stuck in a ditch and that they needed to go pick him up. Well, Brandon tried to give them a specific location in where he was at, but he wasn't sure himself. So Brandon's parents drove to the location Brandon had given them, but they couldn't find him. They couldn't find each other. Brandon's parents, Brian Swanson and Annette Swanson, tried to flash the light in their headlights to guide Brandon towards them, but Brandon said he couldn't see anything. On the phone, he said that he instead saw flashes from a distance which he thought was coming from the town of Lind. He told his parents it was gonna be more convenient for him to walk the rest of the path and that he was gonna try to join them in a tavern parking lot at Lind. And while Brandon was going towards those lights, his father Brian was still in the car with him. And Brandon, during that call, he informed his father he passed some fences, some gravel roads. He also even heard water flowing in the distance. Brandon and Brian were in a call for 47 minutes until Brandon shouted, "Oh shit," and the call dropped. From there, Brandon's mother and father kept on calling him multiple times, but he just didn't answer. Brian and Annette started to get very worried about Brandon, and they drove around to see if they could find him, but they couldn't. And at 6:30, they requested authorities to register a missing persons report. However, they denied this request and told them to wait, because it was common for people his age to avoid communicating with their parents. While the police station made them wait, Brandon was still nowhere to be found. Officials started their search for Swanson before noon, and during that search, his Chevrolet Lumina was located in a ditch on the borders of Lincoln and Yellow Medicine. Lincoln County Sheriff Jack Vinsky stated that he did not see any evidence where it would indicate that he was hurt or injured, but that the car was just stuck in a ditch and it was going to be hard for him to get the car out. Well, months passed in his disappearance, and law enforcement personnel and volunteers searched the area where he disappeared from. Well, they searched it by foot, horseback, using search dogs and all-terrain vehicles. They even searched various bodies of water, but sadly, there was still no evidence in where he disappeared. The search dogs did lead the authorities to the Yellow Medicine River, which made the authorities think that Swanson slipped into the water. As the river was examined and Brandon Swanson's body was never found, officials think he made it back out and resumed walking. However, they think he might have died of hypothermia as the temperature was under 40 degrees that morning. Well, years have passed and they still don't have any information about Brandon or about what happened to him. The only thing we know is that he might be dead. I mean, all we can really hope for is that somehow he's still alive. I mean, they did never find a body. The next case is about a man named Zeb Quinn. He was born on May 12, 1981 in Asheville, North Carolina, and according to the family, he was a kind and caring person. and he had big dreams. He was enrolled in the Reserve Officers Training Corps, also known as ROTC, and was determined to join the armed forces as a commissioned officer. And meanwhile, he was working at Walmart, saving up money for a new car. Owens, his 22-year-old co-worker, told him about a car for sale not too far away. So after his shift was over, Quinns met Owens in the Walmart parking lot. They each drove separately and stopped in a convenience store to buy sodas and snacks around 9:15 p.m.
Zeb left the Walmart where he worked on Hendersonville Road on the night of January 2nd, 2000, was last seen at a Citgo convenience store on Long Shoals Road around 9:30 p.m.
That was the last time Quinn was seen alive. A day passed, and his mother Dennis reported him missing to the police. And according to the Asheville Citizen-Times, Quinn's car was found on the parking lot of Little Pig's Barbecue on January 6. But things seemed strange. The car headlights were on. Drawings of a mouth and an exclamation mark were drawn in the back window in lipstick.
His light blue Mazda showed up 2 weeks later at Little Pig's Barbecue, lips painted on the rear window in lipstick. His mother has little hope that Zeb is still alive.
You know, we were close. And, of course, I thought he was a special kid. But to hear it from others is really important.
And there was a live puppy inside. And for those who are worried about the puppy, he is fine. An officer took him in and is living happily with him. But coming back to this case, there were a few witnesses that spotted a strange woman driving the car around. Authorities made a sketch with the help of the witnesses. They noted that the sketch had a shocking resemblance to a woman named Misty Taylor. Quinn had supposedly been romantically pursuing Taylor before his disappearance, but she had allegedly an abusive boyfriend named Wesley Smith. This was one of the clues that police have spent years trying to unravel, but there is still no evidence that they are responsible for his disappearance. But there is a main suspect in his disappearance, his co-worker, Robert Jason Owens, since Owens was the last person to be seen with Quinn, and police have questioned him. He claims that just after they left the convenience store at 9:15 p.m., Quinn used his headlights to signal Owens to pull over. When he did, Quinn told him he had received an urgent page and desperately needed to return the call. As reported by WLOS News 13, Owens said Quinn was visibly frantic. After he made a call with the nearby payphone, he apologized for canceling their plans and sped off. Owens also claims that Quinn rear-ended him in his hurry to leave. But what's a little bit suspicious is that Owens admitted himself into a hospital just hours later for a head injury and several fractured ribs that he said he sustained in another car accident that night. But police never found reports or any evidence that said that he was in this accident. But what they did discover was that on January 4th, someone claimed to be Quinn had called out sick from Walmart. Quinn's supervisor, Patty King, answered the phone and realized the voice on the other end sounded nothing like Quinn's. When King called the number back, she was connected to a local Volvo plant, where Owens worked a second job, and he admitted to making a call, but he said that Quinn had asked him to do so. And after tracing the page that supposedly sent Quinn into a frenzy before he vanished, police discovered the call came from the house of his aunt's house, Ina Ustik. However, Ustik denied making the call. After all, she had been having dinner with a close friend, Tamara Taylor, the mother of Misty Taylor. And according to Spin magazine, Quinn had met a 19-year-old Taylor at his family restaurant just weeks before his disappearance, and the two struck up a friendship, and there he learned about Taylor's abusive relationship with Smith, and he wanted to help her. And during Quinn's and Taylor's friendship, the boyfriend of Taylor made threats to Quinn, and Smith even told Quinn that he should stay away from her. But even so, Ustik told police that Taylor and Smith were both present at Tamara's house on the night Quinn disappeared, January 2nd. But a break in the case didn't come until 15 years later, on March 17, 2015, when Robert Jason Owen was arrested for the murder of Food Network star contestant Christy Schoen and her husband and her unborn child. He later pled guilty to 3 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of dismembering human remains. And soon after Owen's arrest, police obtained a warrant to search his property in connection of Zeb Quinn's disappearance. They received a tip about fish pond project that Owens had started and aborted soon after Quinn went missing. Beneath the concrete of the abandoned pond, police said they found fabric, leather material, and unknown hard fragments, as well as several plastic bags filled with powdered mortar mix. With new evidence in hand, a grand jury charged Owens with a first-degree murder for the death of Zeb Quinn on July 10, 2017. So it's the next day, and for those who haven't noticed, I went to go get a haircut, and I just put on the same sweater. I don't know why, but we're gonna continue this. This next disappearance is about 2 girls, Liz Kramer and Liz Firm. On April 1st, 2014, Liz Kramer and Liz Firm left their host family's home to take the family's dog on a walk through the forest around Baru Volcano in Baquete, Panama. Chris and Lizanne were students from the Netherlands. They had spent 6 months planning their trip to Panama, which was supposed to also serve as a vacation trip for them. They planned on spending some time hiking and also looking around the city, also volunteering with local children, teaching them arts and crafts. The 2 women had been hiking around the Panamanian jungle for the past 2 weeks as part of a backpacking mission trip and intended to stay for the next 4 weeks with their host family to volunteer at a local school. However, after they waved goodbye to their host family at 11 a.m. on April 1st, they were never seen again. The women had written a Facebook post in which they wrote about their intentions to tour the local village. They also wrote that they had had brunch with a fellow Dutchman before embarking to their hike. On the night of April 1st, their host family noticed that something was wrong. Their dog had returned safely but alone, and the girls were nowhere to be found. The host family searched the area around their home but decided to wait until morning to alert the authorities. On April 2nd, Chris and Lizanne missed an appointment with their local tour guide who was supposed to take them on a private walking tour of Bonquete, which prompted the host family to alert the authorities. The next morning, an aerial search of the fort was conducted. Days passed, and by April 6, the 2 women were still missing. Fearing the worst, the Kramers and the Firm family flew to Panama, bringing with them detectives from the Netherlands along with local police and dog units. They searched the forest for 10 days, but they still couldn't find them. And after 10 weeks, there had still been no sign of Chris or Lizanne. Then, as police were slowing down their search efforts, a local woman turned in a blue backpack and then claimed that she had found this backpack in a rice paddy field along the banks of the river. Inside the backpack were 2 pairs of sunglasses, $83 in cash, Lizanne's passport, a water bottle, and 2 bars. Also inside, most importantly, was Lizanne's camera and both of the women's cell phones. Police immediately investigated the camera and phones and came up with disturbing evidence. The phone had remained in service for almost 10 days after the women disappeared. Over just 4 days, 77 separate attempts had been made to call the police, both via 112, the emergency number of the Netherlands, and 911, the emergency number for Panama. Using the call logs, police were able to come up with an outline of the time the girls spent missing in the forest. The first 2 emergency calls had been just hours after Chris and Lizanne had begun the hike. Due to the dense jungle, neither of the attempts went through. In fact, out of all 77 calls, only 1 managed to make contact but broke up after just 2 seconds. Police also discovered that on April 6, several unsuccessful attempts were made to unlock Chris's phone with an incorrect PIN number, and it never received a correct PIN number after that. By April 11, both phones were dead. Though the call log was disturbing, it was nothing compared to the camera. The first photos on the camera were taken the morning of April 1st, when the women had left for their hike. The photos showed them on a trail near the Continental Divide, though nothing about them led police to become suspicious. However, the second set of photos were worrisome. Taken in the dead of night, between the hours of 1 and 4 a.m. on April 8. The photo showed the girls' belongings spread out on the rocks, plastic bags and candy wrappers, oddly peeled mounds of dirt, a mirror, and most worrisome, the back of Chris's head with blood leaking from her temple. After investigating the area where the backpack had been found, police uncovered Chris's clothing, neatly folded on the edge of the river. 2 months later, in the same area, a pelvic bone and a foot still inside a boot were found. Soon after that, the bones of both women were discovered. Lizanne's bones looked as if they had been decomposed naturally, as there was still bits of flesh attached to them. But Chris's bones were stark white and looked as if they had been bleached. Police questioned the local tour guides and other hikers who had been in the area at the time, but nothing besides the photos and the call logs provided them with any evidence. There wasn't even enough evidence to determine the cause of death. To this day, the disappearance and the death of Chris Kramer's and Lizanne firm remains a mystery. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and even if you did, subscribe. I'm still not used to this, man. Well, either way, thanks for watching. Bye bye.